It was early May in 2016. We were planning a stuffed animal sleepover, so kids were dropping off their stuffed animals. These stuffed animals were spending the night in the library. Emily and I were taking photos of all of the activities the stuffed animals did over the course of their sleepover, and then we were making photo albums of their activities. And then the next morning, the kids would come and pick up their stuffed animals. So Emily and I were the only ones in the building. She was getting the albums cropped and put together, and I set up our meeting rooms, got all the walls taken down, got all the tables set up, snacks set out, and the stuffed animals on the far end of the meeting room. Our meeting rooms have motion sensor lights in them, and I just was leaving them on because I was coming in and out with like food and stuff, so it was just easier than flipping with the switch constantly. So I went back and we were finishing up on these albums, which took far longer than we thought they would. So it was nearly midnight. We were getting ready to leave. And as we walked out of the library workroom, we looked down and the lights were on in the room that the stuffed animals were in. And we definitely had a moment of, well, that's odd, but we don't want to go down and see what's really going on. So we just walked out. So we came in the next day for the party, and it didn't look like anything had moved in the room. So we don't really know what set off those motion sensor lights. It's a mystery that remains to this day.
So the year's roughly about 2008 to 2010, and we're coming off of a period of increased activity in the building, noises, people seeing some things, this, that, and the other. The walls down here in the Jardine Conference Center are fairly new. And one morning, a church group that was down here comes up and says, hey, what's going on in our room? And the staff was like, we're not sure. What do you mean? I said, well, there's a bunch of chairs intertwined amongst themselves, making a spiral up to the ceiling. So staff went down and investigated, and there was probably a 15-foot diameter group of chairs kind of woven together to make almost like a teepee, if you will, up into the ceiling, and they were all perfectly intermingled in amongst themselves. And it was just an odd thing to have seen. So we were like, well, okay, so what kids got in there and did this type of thing? We reviewed all the footage. We had multiple people review cameras, and we had cameras on the whole time, all the entrances and exits. No one came in from the point on Friday afternoon to when the building was closed down that evening until that next Sunday morning. No one entered the conference center. There wasn't anybody around. There wasn't anybody that came and went. So we weren't exactly sure how it happened. But yeah, that was kind of a poltergeist activity we'd had, and it was coming on the tail end of some increased activity and some disturbances that had happened recently down in the conference center at that time.
Okay, so in August of 2020, I was alone working inside the community center. I actually brought my daughter in because it was a weekend and I had to get some things done. And she's 5 years old. And every time we were in the lobby, completely alone in this building, we would hear footsteps running on the track above. And I kind of just ignored it, and we kept doing work, and we had to go back and forth between my office and the lobby. And then, like the third time I'd heard it, my 5-year-old says, "Is someone running on the track up there?" And it kind of freaked me out because I was trying to ignore the fact that I was hearing it. But then when she called attention to it, I was like, it certainly sounds like it. And we kind of peeked and we didn't see anyone. And we did the whole, hey, we're in here, anyone here? And I was just kind of getting freaked out. So I just kind of wrapped up what we were doing and got out of here. And I brought it up to the coworkers here in the recreation department the next day when I came in, and they have had similar experiences. So someone's been exercising up on the track when no one's around, and it's kind of spooky.
So there's this phenomenon that happens here in town, and it's usually in the springtime, whereby some street or another just all of a sudden, seemingly overnight, gets filled with these bright orange cones. So one day the path will be clear, and the next day lanes are divided and traffic is being rerouted, and they just seem to spring up out of nowhere, almost overnight. Nobody ever sees anyone moving them. Sometimes they even change from day to day, like today this lane is blocked, and tomorrow it's that lane, and then the next day they might even be in the middle. Have you ever seen one up close? There's just this void inside. They're empty. and they're this plastic rubbery material. I mean, how could they move around? And they seem to gravitate towards construction sites, but none of the construction workers even pay any attention to them. It's like they know that we need to just leave them alone. And I'll tell you what, when I'm driving and I see them, I always slow way down, because who knows if one is just gonna appear in front of my car. So then towards fall, almost as quickly as they appeared, they're gone. It is creepy.
It's come to the city's attention that there are fantastical stories being told of strange happenings and purported supernatural occurrences around town. We want to state that these claims are spurious and deny anything of the sort as at best hearsay and at worst blatant untruths. The city has no intention of directing resources towards substantiating or disproving these incredible stories. Sentient road cones? I mean, really.